How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Missing Piece Show. This show is going to be about helping you through your life, finding what's missing in your life. And today we're going to be talking about getting out of that funk, that rut that you're stuck in, and how to break free from that. And it's going to be kind of a casual sit-down discussion where we help you guys work out what you're missing so you can find it, get it, and live life to the fullest.
One thing that we talked about was if you wake up and your only motivation to get through the day is to go back to bed at night.
Yeah.
That's probably a sign that something needs to change, that you're in a rut.
When every day you look forward to just ending the day, and going back to sleep and, not having to think about it anymore, that's when you have to add something new and you have to make some changes. And that's where we get stuck, is when we at that point where we decide we want something new. Where do we go from there? Yeah.
And like I've always said, if you do what you've always done, you'll always be where you've always been.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So you'll never move forward if you just keep getting into the same habitual routine and you don't change anything up.
I think that's where automatic patterns and behaviors come in. Mm-hmm. We're so used to, like, you're programmed and you say you're driving home one day from work or from the store or something, and you got home and you don't even realize how you got home.
Yep.
You're on automatic pilot.
Yep.
You're existing, you're not living.
Yeah, I think that's interesting that you say, because that's happened quite a few times. I know that you'll be driving somewhere, like, I don't even remember getting here. And you're like, how did I get here in one piece? But it's funny because your body knows so well. It knows the routine. It didn't get you there.
And there's a stop sign back there, but you can't remember if you stopped at it.
Yeah, but you did because you're still driving, so you stopped, but you're like, I must have, and that's one of the things you get into such a routine. I had an example of that where when you get into such a routine, it actually can be troublesome when you try to break that routine or get out of that routine. That just happened to me the other day. I have a very specific routine when I wake up, and I like that routine, and I found out how much I dislike getting knocked out of my routine.
We all found out how much.
Yeah, everyone found out I really don't enjoy getting knocked out of my routine, and I realized, wow, I really like this routine apparently, because I wake up, I work out, I do my thing, I eat my breakfast, okay, I'm ready to start the day, and anything in between that is now, is a problem. And so breaking that routine was difficult, but I liked that routine. But we so often get stuck in routines where we don't like it, but we don't know where to go or how to start or how to begin changing that, We
also develop comfort zones.
Yep.
And no one wants to break the comfort zone because then you become uncomfortable. But the problem is then you never go that next step to actually achieving your goal.
Right.
Because now you're just like, I'm good. It feels wrong. I don't want to do it. But it's not that it feels wrong. It's that it's growth. And growth can be uncomfortable, but that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
Well, that's why there's growing pains.
Yes.
Yeah. It's when you start trying to make those subtle changes, and normally they're small at first, but they amount to gigantic things. Mm-hmm. A lot of the time it's like, oh, you want to try something, you want to get a new hobby, you want to do this, you want to do that. But you're like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly fit that in. When will I ever find the time? And then you realize you just spent 3 hours watching TV saying you have no time. You know what I mean?
And we all do that.
Yep.
You have a new game or you have a show, you get sucked into it. And then in your head, you've convinced yourself, well, there's no possible way I could complete all of these other things. So I just won't.
Or you start it and you're all about it for the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then tomorrow you're like, well, I didn't see any results, so I'm going to go back to what I
did. Yeah, exactly. You give it 1 day difference. You're like, wow, the 30-second help me didn't work. What am I supposed to do? I did the 3-step process to change my life in 30 seconds. It didn't work,
Right. Well, that brings us to our main point, which is the fact that you have to make changes on a deep level.
Yep.
And it sucks and it hurts and it can be uncomfortable and you just it's scary, really.
Yeah.
It's something new, it's something different. Maybe it feels like, oh, this isn't me, but maybe that's just your growing pain to get to that next level, to get to your goals, which you're trying to do. But you have to do that on a very deep level. Yeah. Which can kind of shake you sometimes. And you're like, but then you got to be careful that you don't fall back into the rut of, oh, it felt wrong, I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. You got to fight through it.
You have to be very honest with yourself, and that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to be honest. Sometimes someone will say something, and you'll get defensive or angry about it, but there's a little bit of truth in what they said, and so you get mad at yourself, but we so often won't be honest with ourselves because we'd rather just avoid the topic.
Right.
I'll throw something else at it. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? And so then you won't want to handle the situation because why would you bother? Right. The truth hurts and you don't want to hear it. So then you're like, well, I'm comfortable where I'm at. That's why I'm still here. That's why I'm still doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? This is where I want to stay. I'm good in my bubble here, And we get so comfortable that we don't want to change. We get used to where we're at.
Well, like you said earlier, you have this battle in your mind between what's easy and efficient.
Yeah.
This gets through your day every day versus, well, I'd have to go through tribulation to get growth.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you just stay here, and then you keep staying in that same state. You wake up, what am I going to eat? I want to go back to bed. And then you're done.
Yeah. You have to make a conscious decision and actually make real change to move forward. And so many people don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to make that change. They don't want to do that next step.
Or they do, they just don't know how.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, doing the same thing over and over and, creates insanity. And you don't know how to change it.
Yep.
And you're looking for guidance, you're looking for all the things, you're reading all the self-help books, you're going to all the places, but you don't know how to do that. So you're just like, whatever. So that's a big thing too. So I think people want to make the change.
Yeah.
At least half of them do, genuinely, but they just don't know how. So then they just give up and they just keep going through their day like they normally would.
Yep.
Without putting forth the effort, because they just don't know what to do. They don't know what those steps are. Everyone, you buy all these programs, you go to all these seminars and events, but it's always one size fits all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
One size doesn't fit all.
Yep.
One size doesn't fit all at all. And that's the one thing. We're all individuals. We're all unique. We all bring something different to the table. And you telling me, I'm not saying that those programs aren't good.
Yeah.
They definitely are. But you kind of need to know what you're honing in on.
Yeah.
So you go, you spend the thousands of dollars, you do this, and then you go home and
Yep.
now what?
No.
I'm in my same environment.
Yep.
I'm in the same situation. I'm not in that, seminar where I was there in this beautiful place with all this energetic people and motivation people. I'm back at home.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep that energy going at your home because you're used to certain behavior patterns. You may have had those since you were, little.
Yep.
Like you were talking about how you got upset when someone messed up your routine. And it's interesting because, well, what your routine was getting messed up for was for fun.
Right.
But it didn't matter. It
Yeah.
was still the fact that you had this set. And it wasn't necessarily that you didn't want to do what was going to be what you're going to do. It was just that it ruffled your routine. So that's like causes chaos. Like, whoa. Like now you're out of control. It's no longer in your control.
Yep.
Because if it's in your control, you're safe.
Yep.
Like I know what's happening. I'm in my box. I'm in my little world. Leave me alone.
Yep.
I think, you being able to acknowledge that.
Yep.
Own it, which was huge. You
Yeah,
said you don't want to deal with things, or people don't want to deal with things, but the fact that you absorbed it, owned it, acknowledged it, and let it go, and then you had a great time.
Yep.
But my point to that was, I think people don't know how to make the change. I think they don't know what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
What they need to change.
I feel like it is just, I feel like there are so many people that want to make that change and they just don't know how. And I feel like there's so many people that just would rather just stay where they are.
Oh, 100%.
Like they're good in the mud. They're like, I'm good for I hate that I'm dirty, but I'm gonna keep sitting in the mud. Why am I still dirty? But you won't get out of the mud. You won't take the steps to get up, anybody, because they don't know how. Some people just like to stay in the mud.
Those are lifelong victims.
Yeah, and they just want to stay in the mud and complain about how they're still dirty because they're sitting in the mud.
I think there's also a level of self-doubt.
Yeah.
And they feel like maybe they don't have the tenacity or the strength to get through something, but we do. We are all born with a spirit of discipline. You know, like God tells us that.
Yeah.
So we need to really be self-aware of that and embrace it and accept it as who we really are.
Yeah.
Because then if you have that empowerment that, you know what, I am capable of doing this. I am capable of getting through this. Now you can start making the changes, because I feel so often people just doubt themselves and say, no, I couldn't possibly.
Yeah.
But that comes from previous experiences in life.
Yeah.
It's like you were made to feel like low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-love. So that's why you won't reach out or do the things, because you have those issues and you don't even realize it. They're embedded in your subconscious.
Once you find the steps, right? And sometimes they're as simple as just stop doing what you're doing, or stop being like, well, I don't have enough. Well, maybe you do have enough and you're just not realizing, right? If you sit down and write it all out, you'll see how much time you actually let get away from you. And I know that time that you could spend doing something else. It's the willpower to get up. Once you find the way, the willpower to get up and be like, wow, you know what? I'm going to stop complaining about this, and I'm just going to go change it. I'm going to do something different tomorrow, you know, and then continue to do that. And I think that's when you start to form habits. Like when I first started, weightlifting, at first every day I was like, I don't want to do this, right? Mm-hmm. Well, at first you're like, great, so much fun. And that goes out really quick. Now I don't want to wake up and do this, but I've already started this process of working out. And then eventually you keep doing it. It's a routine now. It's no longer willpower. Willpower will fail at some point, but a routine will last, right? So once you have enough willpower, you bust through the wall. You're like, I'm going to keep doing this one thing. I'm going to keep going on that walk, right? Eventually, it's a routine. Now you're just going on that walk whether you want to or not, because that's just what you do now,
You develop new habits to replace old bad habits. And I think it really starts at the root of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like the changes have to start on a very deep level, but you need to be aware of where those things have stagnated.
Yeah.
So you have to be very self-aware, and sometimes that takes practice. But I think for me, like I always just, every time I start feeling a certain way, whether it's frustrated or sad or whatever, I always like stop and think like, okay, like why do I feel like this right now? Like where is it coming from? And how can I change it? So that way I can react the way that I truly want to react. Or how can I change the thing that I keep doing every day that like drives me nuts, like let's say I sit all day long. Well, it drives me crazy that I sit all day long. I don't really want to sit all day long, but you've convinced yourself, or like I've convinced myself that, well, this is just what I'm doing and it's, better than going on a walk. So I'll just sit here and enjoy it. But really I'm driving myself nuts internally because I'm like, no, because aches and pains, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I do want to get physically fit. So it's just being self-aware as to your thought process with things.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
that way you can start changing those things.
Yeah.
And then maybe when you wake up, you're not like, I just want to go back to bed. And you're like, you know what? Going on a walk sounds like fun. Or
or you just do it because now it's a habit. And like I said, willpower will fizzle out. I know everyone believes, willpower will fade at some point. You'll run, but if it becomes a habit, now you'll keep doing it.
Yes. Absolutely. And it takes time to develop habits.
Oh, yeah.
It took time to develop your bad habits.
It did.
Time to break those habits. And make new habits. Healthier habits, or just things that will change your life to get you on the track to where you need to go.
We thank you for joining us on the missing piece today. And we're just trying to find ways to help people find what they're missing, find that little key. That way they can go through the door and open themselves up to a whole new world, really. And so often we get stuck in these ruts, whether they be of actions or repetition, or whether it be emotional or whatever it be. We'll go into more depth as we go on in the series. And we thank you all for joining us here today on the missing piece. And make sure you check out the next episode. And we'll see you all there.
All right. Have a blessed day.